know that not everything I talk about is always hair related. So I was a history major and I love history. So I always kind of do follow current events, and I kind of like have some perspectives and things I've seen just from having read about different dictators. Putin's a dictator. Assad's a dictator. I can tell you that. And I know some people might not want to hear that. I've always been kind of interested in what was happening in Syria because, I'm part Syrian. Our family left back during the times of the Ottoman Empire, the tail end of it, like 1923. My grandpa was fully Syrian, so it was just always something that was on my radar. And I will tell you one thing that was definitely on my radar a few years back is some people were trying to argue that Putin was doing a good thing in Syria, that he was trying to fight ISIS. But, that's not entirely true. And some people would say, well, Putin, he's defending the Christians. But that's not really true either because, I think even in the West, like even in America, like some people were kind of giving him props for that. But actually he was doing some really, really, really bad stuff. So there were some groups that legitimately wanted to overthrow the dictatorship in Syria, and I don't know, I'm kind of for the self-determination of people, and if they wanted to do that, I can see why, because the Assad regime, they have been very tyrannical, although he likes to promote himself as, I'm very westernized. I've watched The Pursuit of Happiness. I like French food. I buy, he would say, go as far to say, he buys country music on iTunes. He's just very refined, and he likes to ride public transit in the UK. But don't be fooled, okay? Don't be fooled by dictators. So I've been doing some deep dive reading and just looking for parallels between what happened in Syria and the Ukraine, and there's a lot of parallels, and it's kind of gross and it's kind of scary. So right now I think what's happening in the Ukraine is tragic. My opinion is at this time it probably wouldn't be good for Western powers to intervene right now, just because that could stoke the fire. It could make it worse. But I do applaud the Ukrainian people if they want to fight for their independence, because I totally believe in the self-determination of people. So this is the thing. I was reading a lot of articles, and I was trying to find a book about Ukraine, but it wasn't there today. But this was the disgusting thing that I came across regarding Putin. So anyway, the Russian military forces were using Syria as a training grounds for what they're doing in the Ukraine. So they weren't just going after ISIS. They were sometimes targeting schools, okay, and hospitals and apartment complexes where they thought rebels might be, and killing people, terrorizing people. And that's what they're doing in the Ukraine. So here's the thing. I know some people are we have to be neutral, but I don't think you can entirely be neutral on this topic, to be honest with you. I think here's the problem with that. A dictator is a dictator, and I think we have to call it out. Putin has a disinformation campaign of his own. I know some people are but Western countries, they do propaganda too. Well, I hate to tell you this, but Putin also does PR propaganda, and so does Assad. I was telling you, Assad went on Good Morning America and was saying, I'd like to watch The Pursuit of Happiness. I'd love to ride public transit. He wanted you to think he was a good guy. Is he a good guy? I don't think so. I mean, I know he wanted everybody to be well, if I'm not in Syria, there's going to be instability. Is that completely true? Absolutely not. One of the things that does kind of bother me, the difference between Syria and the Ukraine being part Syrian, is that it's an Asian country and people just don't care as much. Let's be real. People don't care as much about an Asian country as a European one. That's just the truth. Americans and Europeans are going to care more about a European country. That's the truth. It's the truth. It's always been the truth, okay? It's the truth in another book I was reading, like about, the reporting on the Pacific and Pearl Harbor. Even World War II, when they fought World War II, they made Europe, that theater, the priority. Because European countries and American countries have a Western-centric view. So yes, they're going to be more focused on and supporting what's happening in the Ukraine, and that does kind of bother me a bit. I'm like, I don't know why it has to be that way, but that's just the way it is. But I think the parallel we can connect is that Putin, he's a dictator. He wants to control territories. He wants more leaders in his little orbit. I know people are going to say, but Americans have propped up dictators too. But the disgusting thing about the invasion of the Ukraine is, guess who supports Putin doing that? Oh, Assad? Yes, Assad. And when I was reading in vetted articles that are not from an American perspective, talking about how that was Putin's tactic in Syria to attack hospitals, to attack schools, apartment buildings, to terrorize the people, and he's doing the same thing in the Ukraine. Yes, Putin is worse than the Western powers in this one, okay? I know people don't agree with me on that, but I totally see that. I'm not saying we should get involved right now, but let's be honest, let's be real. Putin's a dictator. He shouldn't be invading the Ukraine. He should let them go. And that's the only right answer, really. I think my opinion is, you don't have to like this, but I applaud, that Russian reporter who said no war, who stood up, who actually, did the brave thing. I mean, I can get why most Russians wouldn't right now, but if you believe in the self-determination of people, you definitely would not support a dictator trying to acquire the Ukraine and bring it back into the post-Soviet orbit. And keep in mind, Putin was a KGB officer, okay? He knows that protocol. He is a dictator. I'm not going to give him a free pass. He is not the savior of the Christians in Syria. I know he tried to play himself up in that PR kind of way, but no, don't give him a free pass. That's just my opinion, and that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. I'm not saying that we should get involved right now, but yeah, it's pretty gross. Anyway, just my observations. The Russians are doing in the Ukraine what they did in Syria. You can research that. That's not an American-driven, article agenda. That's just vetted, what Syrians were telling you, people living in Syria, okay? Look it up. Thanks for watching.